Hey everyone, I'm Mackayla, and today on the Soundtrack of Our Lives podcast, we have Never Sunny. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves, we'll be able to tell you apart by your voices later on. That'd be great.
Hi, I'm David. I'm the vocalist for Never Sunny.
Hi, I'm Joey. I'm the guitar player and vocalist for Never Sunny.
Hi, I'm Mickey. I also play guitar and do vocals sometimes for Never Sunny.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining me today.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you for
us.
having us. Yeah.
Yeah, this is really
So,
cool.
so you guys just put out your debut self-titled EP. What was that? What has the response been for that?
Definitely a lot better than any other piece of music I've been a part of, that's for sure.
Yeah, I
Um,
think I think it's just been lots of positive. We haven't I think everything that we put out just has been genuinely a good response, very positive. Um this it's picked up quicker than we anticipated as well, I think. Thank you, everybody.
yeah, seriously. Yeah, I think we've all been a part of projects in the past that have you've always kind of gotten that response of like, yeah, this is great for you, but it's never like, yeah, I'm gonna listen to this on my own time. And this is the first time that we've actually had people like genuinely, like really listening to our stuff all summer, like without us having to like prompt them to do so, which
Mhm.
is a different kind of feeling, I think.
Yeah, there's always the homies that'll listen just because they're homies.
Mm.
This is a little different this time.
Do you have anything to add, Joey?
No, I think it's just like they were saying. It's really been, I took a long break from music and coming back to this and seeing the response has been really, it's been really encouraging, and it's just proof that, we put in a lot of hard work in making this record. We put a lot of our heart and soul into this, and we genuinely went for broke, and this is the product, and I'm really really proud of everything that we've done.
Yeah. So what was the inspiration behind it?
I'll let you two take that because you guys, David and Joey, are more or less like the engine behind this album.
Um, for me, it was just it it all started with me in a Westland apartment, feeling really sorry for myself because everybody was living lives and I was just kind of stuck in a rut, not really knowing what to do. And so I just decided to start writing about it, and then I sent it to Joey, and he had taken like he said, he took a long hiatus from music, and this kind of was the thing to suck him back in. And we talked about wanting to kind of start things up again because me and Joe had been playing together for the last 15 years, just doing music together. And so that kind of sucked him back in, and then we were like, all right, well, we gotta find proper members and go from there. But um I think it was just COVID was a big factor in everything, just
Mhm.
the world kind of shutting down, and um kind of losing yourself for a while, being stuck and isolated and trying to figure out what to do next. And luckily we met Mickey, we met Jordan, we met Matt, and um we've just been able to write and put out just a really really dope record.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people are able to relate to the things that we're talking about on this record a lot, and it's great.
Yeah, I mean, as far as inspiration goes, I think this album was kind of written as sort of an ode to our past, but it also kind of a look towards our future. This we had a lot of good times playing music coming up in the scene in Portland, and you know, it was a really, really special time in our lives, and remembering those times of, you know, when we were young, and, you know, we're not the youngest anymore. You know, we've gotten a little older, we've gotten a little more seasoned, and just a callback to those times. And, you know, we wrote Six and Burnside, which was the second single that we dropped off this album, and it genuinely is a song for the scene that we came up in, and it just has a special meaning to us, and it's a really, really special time in our lives.
Really, what I felt a lot of the same way with how David was talking about, you know, when he first showed Joey the stuff that he'd started to write for it. Like, I was in the exact same place. Just I hadn't played music in like 3 years. I was actually in a really, really dark place, personally, because I just hadn't had any kind of outlet or anything like that, and I kind of lost trust in myself as an artist. And then, literally, like, it sounds like some, you know, old school rock and roll mythology, but like, I heard Miss This Game, excuse me, an early demo of Miss This Game. And it was literally like one of those moments that you see on like VH1 Behind the Music, where they're like, yeah, I heard that song once. I was like, that's the #1 hit record right there. And
there's an accent. I told you it'll just come out. I told you it will just come out.
It just doesn't hit as much if you're not the Australian dude or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Like, but literally, it was just like, it was this invigorating moment of like, man, I forgot what it feels like to not only have lyrics hit that deeply, because Miss This Game just, like, I mean, it is the perfect song for anyone who's just coming out of the pandemic and feels like they lost a piece of themselves to it.
Yeah, I mean, we all lost something during the pandemic.
Yeah, definitely. So it's been really nice to be a part of this group and have help rediscovering who I am again.
So how would you? Go ahead.
For it. Never mind.
No,
I was just gonna add on, and this is just a also a great way to encourage people to step back out again, right? Like, everybody since the pandemic has just been almost afraid to leave their houses. Going out just isn't the same. So I think also with all this new music coming out from all these different bands and the pop punk resurgence and all that kind of stuff, it's really like encouraging all of those people to get back out again and reclaim themselves.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody who is kind of struggling to get back into music?
Good question.
Joe?
I think, you know, the only advice I could give them is just, you know, just start small. Start with something that you think, you know, you can do. You know, it doesn't have to be a masterpiece. It doesn't have to be your, you know, opus. It can just be something, a joke song that you wrote about nothing, and it's just, you have to start somewhere, and once that starts picking up, it kind of snowballs. And that's kind of how we wrote this record. We kind of write in fury, and just stuff just starts falling out, but you have to tap that well. And I think just starting small, just writing something, even if it's just 4 lines of, not even written, no melody, just 4 lines of lyrics. I think that's something that'll get you started.
Also, just to add to that, do it strictly for you. Don't do it with any intention. Don't do it with the intent of, you know, oh, I want 1 million people to hear this, or like he said, start small, but just do it for your own therapy. Writing music in general is just therapeutic. Even if nothing came of Never Sunny, we would continue to do it because it's what keeps our sanity, and helps us deal with the things in our lives. So that would be mine.
I think something that this band specifically has really helped me to learn as a skill that I would recommend to anybody in specifically a collaborative project of any sort, don't rest too hard on your own laurels, because if you're in a collaborative project, you obviously joined that collaborative project with some level of trust of the people that you joined with. And it's a really, really hard line to toe between like, I have this vision in my head and we all have this collective vision in our hive brain, so to speak. And it's really hard for a lot of people like myself in the past, and still sometimes to this day, to like remember that this is a groupthink thing,
Right.
and that this has to be representative of everybody. And in the long run, it's going to be a lot better if it is more representative of everybody.
Yeah. So going off of that, how do you make sure that you kind of all have equal input into it?
That is so hard.
Trial and error.
Yeah.
Trial and error has been, I mean, it's hard. It really is. I mean, when you have 5 very, very creative people all in one room trying to get one goal done, there's 5 different ways you can do it. And I mean, that's the nature of the beast, and being in a project like this. It's no just, Mickey said me and Dave were the brains for this last album, and like, yeah, fine, but it also takes all of us to make this thing happen. And it's genuinely difficult to come to a consensus, but we found that we have just kind of found this system of making sure that we don't make decisions until we're all on board, or at least it's a 4-1 and there's one dissenter. And even then it's still hard to like move forward from that, because it's like we want everybody to be bought in. Because if you're not bought in, you're not going to give it your all.
Right.
And it's genuinely difficult. But I think what we've found is that just allowing each other to be open and be honest and have a say, and making sure that we don't move forward until everyone's been heard. I think that's the biggest part, because as soon as somebody doesn't feel like they're heard, that's hard to bridge that back.
Yeah, it's hard to come back from it once somebody feels like they've been on the outs. I think also with us, what we've kind of adopted is a try before we deny method. So even if something sounds outlandish or no, that's not going to work, right, or whatever else, we have adopted the, you know what, let's give it a shot. Let's see how we feel about it. And we, some ideas that were immediately shut down were then redeemed after trying it and going, you know what, I was wrong. That actually totally works out. And we've all kind of been in that position of you hear it at the moment and go, no, that's not going to work. But giving it a moment and giving it a chance and seeing what happens can really change your perception on a lot of things.
And I think that's really like what those little holy moments, for lack of a better term, are what make being in a band so different from any other type of creative project. I feel like those moments where you can be like so sure of yourself and so sure that like, no, this will never fucking work.
Yeah.
And then you try it with everybody just kind of literally letting that wall down for a second. And then all of a sudden you're like, damn, I'm not always right, huh?
Yeah.
It's this cool moment of like, wow, we really can, like, through the power of friendship, we can make something better.
Yeah.
But I would also say that we've adopted a lot of, like Joey said, we trial and error a lot of different ways of figuring out the best way to figure stuff out. And I think I like how willing we are to try out different methods, no matter how extreme they are. Literally, the first big decision we had to come up with, that any band has to come up with, band name. And we decided to give this super, on paper it sounds convoluted, but it actually worked out really well. We basically had everyone come up with 15 band names.
Okay.
And then we all poured them into more or less a bracket.
Yeah, March Madness bracket.
Yeah. and then just kind of did them like elimination style, and
Mhm.
finally ended up with Never Sunny toward the end of it. And it was like the most organic way I think we possibly could have, even though it didn't feel like an organic process.
Mhm.
Once we got that name, I think we all felt like we'd all been equally heard. We'd all had equal amount of opportunity to have something that we felt represented this band be on the docket
Yeah.
as like an actual option. And that was another really cool moment where it was just like, we really can do this.
How long did it take to get through the bracket?
Oh, like a couple hours.
Yeah,
I
it
think
was
we had like 2-3 hours.
a meeting just like this. Everybody at their computer, and we had a screen share of the bracket,
Of
and
the Excel sheet. Yeah.
we
I think I
just
still have
one
that
by
in the, I
one,
think I still have that in the Google Drive. Yeah. Of just
yeah, voted them all out. And I mean, there were some killer ideas. Like, there was probably 5 or 6 at the end of it that if any of them would have won, I think the band would have totally been down with it and whatever. But to walk away from that and everybody equally was happy, it almost felt liberating. Like,
Mhm.
it didn't have to be my choice, but I was unbelievably down for it anyway, right?
Right.
And that was kind of the cool feeling.
Because again, at the end of the day, it really is. It seems like it shouldn't be the most important part, but being heard really is the most important part. Like
Yeah.
being heard in your project first and foremost, even if you don't have the final say, as long as people have been listening to what you've had to say and are willing to give it a shot, and then we can all prove together if it does or doesn't work. Like that's really what it all comes down to, and that's where I think you come up with those great ideas that turn into a miss this game.
Mhm. Yeah, so when you were kind of deciding which ones to move forward, were you just voting on them, or how did that work?
Yeah,
Kind
I
of.
think so. What happened was, I think we narrowed it down right off the bat. Like we introduced, each of us went through the names, kind of explained a brief, like 5-10 second pitch of like why the name works or makes sense.
Mhm.
Sometimes it was just this name sounds cool, and that was it. And like that was the extent of it. And then, you know, when we would just pitch little 5-10 second pitches, and then once everyone voted once, we narrowed it down, so we essentially got to what, five names from each of us that we all of us had a name in the finals. And
Mhm.
then we voted, and it was whichever one won out of that, and it ended up being Never Sunny. So
I guess it helps that you're an odd number and not even.
Yeah.
yes, it does.
Yeah.
It doesn't help because 5 people's a lot, but it does help because it does break the tie.
There is a tiebreaker. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we were a 4-piece, I can't imagine how much longer that meeting would have been. It's also
That's
worth
true.
noting that
I think it ended up being, I think the final vote for Never Sunny was pretty, I think it was like 4-1. Like,
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
dude,
no,
it was pretty cut. Yeah.
yeah.
by the time we got down to it, yeah. Which, by the way, that was Joey's pick. That was he came
I
up
wasn't
with
gonna say it, but yeah, it was that was my idea.
That's a great name.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
working, so
Yeah.
It is. It is. Well, and, I mean, like, it fits. It fits. We're from the Northwest. If you know anything about the Northwest, it's known for its rain. And then on top of that, we're all, I feel like all of us are huge Always Sunny in Philadelphia fans.
Mhm.
Also, this is paying homage to the Wonder Years, with their song Never Sunny in Philadelphia.
It's Never Sunny in South Philadelphia. Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, there were a lot of reasons why it just totally worked for us.
Mhm.
That's such a cool, unique idea, like way to come up with the name. Who thought of it?
Wasn't me.
I think I did, just because I think it was part of the trial and error thing of like, we weren't making progress on on it. We weren't happy with the name. I mean, some of us weren't happy with the name that we had originally had. because it was an old band that we were trying to bring back.
Mhm.
And then we just decided, once Mickey joined, that we were going to just rebrand entirely and become something new. Because I think keeping the old name wouldn't have done this music a service, because
Mhm.
this isn't that old band. This is Never Sunny. Like, this
It's
is
completely
such
different.
a completely different project. It's so much more evolved than what we've been doing in the past, and I think it did deserve a new name. So I'm glad that we did it. But yeah, I think just the trial, we weren't making any headway on a name, and I was just like, well, let's just try this.
Mhm.
We were
Like,
all
maybe
just
this
in
will work. And it was convoluted and it was weird, but it ended up being a
yeah,
really good process.
we were all just in such completely different headspaces with like, and that's the hardest part about coming up with a name is everybody
Mhm.
again had a different vision for where they could see this band going and what they could see this band meaning to people, and what kind of lyrical content would we, all the juice and all the spices,
Mhm.
like equally distilled version of what we could possibly come up with.
That makes sense. So you guys have 2 music videos out. What was it like filming those?
Well, they were completely different experiences for
Mhm.
sure.
'Cause they're very different music videos.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The first one was done by, I'll just say, a professional videographer, somebody who had the equipment, knew how to edit, all that kind of stuff. Um,
Yeah, shout out
Shout
Orlando
out
Sound.
Orlando. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And he's phenomenal. He did a great job. And so we went through him for the first one, and I will tell you, anybody who doesn't like hasn't shot a video or anything like that, it's you doing the same thing 30 times. And um that's hard. That's hard because you're trying to give it 100% every single time. I remember we have having to take breaks in between because I'm dripping in sweat. And Joey got me a towel, and I would just, bat myself down with the towel and cool off, because you can't be dripping in sweat half the video. It's gonna look funny. So
Mhm.
it was a tough but super fun time. And then Mickey had the idea of the second video being very like DIY, and
Mhm.
he took that on his own. Mickey, I'll let you talk about that one.
Yeah, the Six and Burnside video, I went into that with the idea of wanting to tailor it more for like this new era of short form content is king.
Mhm.
So that's why we went with the vertical. And honestly, I don't know, I've been really inspired lately by just watching. There's a bunch of these like uh pages on TikTok and Instagram that take like cartoons or movies, and they'll show you like what it would look like if it was shot in vertical.
Mhm.
And it was just really cool, the idea of being it like the kind of shots that you can do with that setup.
Right.
And I don't know, I wanted to kind of marry the idea of having it just be something that you could watch casually on your phone like this instead of having to turn it like this, and then marry that idea with the concept of the song just being, a song for our city.
Mhm.
um so we just went around town to some of our favorite spots. Like we're over by one of the most famous bridges in town, Burnside Bridge, or rather Hawthorne Bridge. And then we were right on the Willamette River, which cuts right in between Portland and kind of splits the east and west end of the city. Um, and then we were able to rent this really cool studio space up in the north end of the city that really allowed us, like, it was just, simple white room with beautiful natural light coming in, but it really
Mhm.
allowed us to kind of like, because I think, the Miss This Game video, we had a concise storyline for that one,
Right.
and there was a theme and everything. And with this one, I kind of wanted it to be a bit more of just kind of like, here we are, this is what we're about, like, this is what you, because it was the song we were dropping right before the album was going to drop.
Mhm.
So it was like, okay, this is what you can expect from this album cycle, basically,
Yeah.
thematically and color wise and all that. Um, And admittedly, I messed up a little bit. I didn't realize that you couldn't post because I wanted to post it all on Instagram. I
Mhm.
didn't realize that you can only post 90 seconds on Instagram Reels. So I was like scrambling in the middle of the night to try and figure out how to put it onto TikTok. And then TikTok muted the video because we hadn't like I don't even know what that was. I still haven't figured that out. TikTok is like
They didn't know that it wasn't our song, and there was no way to battle them to show that we had the licensing.
Ah,
It's a total nightmare, and it's happened to a lot of bands.
mm.
We're not the first, we won't be the last.
But then it turned out that um PSA for anyone listening to this podcast who's thinking about doing what I did, you can upload vertical video to YouTube.
mhm.
I didn't know this. I thought you could only do it through shorts, but you can totally upload vertical video to YouTube. And so that's what we ended up doing. Um I'm pretty proud of it. I think it's only like the second or third music video I've ever had that much of a hand in creating. I hope people liked it.
That was really cool. So, do you have plans for more music video for your songs?
Yes, we do. Um, we've got there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah.
So we don't have anything publicly to announce as
Mhm.
far as that goes, but I assure you that there are definitely things in the works for more videos.
Okay.
And we're really, really, really excited for when that time comes.
Mhm. So, in terms of other things in the works, are there any live shows or music coming out at any point in the future?
Yes. We have we have the honor of hosting Oregon City's first ever emo night.
Cool.
Yeah, this was again another idea from Mickey. Mickey's kind of the the brains around a lot of these things. He's the brains for our look, our aesthetic. He came up with this idea for an emo night. Oregon City's never done anything like that or really
Mhm.
embraced the emo pop punk crowd. Um, we found a bar that is allowing us to do so. So Tuesday, September 24th at Trails End Saloon, we'll have our first emo night, and it's us and we have an opening act. He's an acoustic opening act called
Wandering
Willow.
from
That's right,
Seattle.
from Seattle. And the goal is we're gonna play some originals, but we're gonna play some covers, some OG emo covers that everybody knows. And we're gonna end the night with emo karaoke. So the crowd gets to be involved just as much. And it's gonna be super fun. We also have a show in October the 18th, Friday night at Twilight Cafe, with Crop Top and
Flying
Flying
uh,
Whammy.
Whammy.
They're dope.
yeah, Flying Whammy. So we're excited about that. We had our first official show at Twilight and had a blast. So we're excited to play there again. Um, we are I think it's okay and comfortable to say we're already working on the new record. Um, I think that's safe to say. There's no tentative date or anything like that. We have lots of music. We have lots of stuff that we're sifting through and just trying to get right. We want this next record to um we don't want it to stint what we're doing.
Mhm.
We want it to progress with what we're doing. So but we're really excited about all that. We're definitely going to be playing a lot more shows next year. We'll be really active in the scene, and so we're really excited for the future.
Is there anything you can share about the sound of the new music?
It's I don't know. We got a lot. The demos that we got right now, I feel, are a lot more eclectic than the collection of demos that the guys had when I joined. And that was because I joined like October of 2023, which was like right around the time that they started finalizing their crop of demos that were going to go on the record. And yeah, this new batch of songs is like, it's very similar in ways that, you know, it's, I mean, I guess the only similarity is the fact that the same people are writing it, but it's all very, I feel like it's like, I don't know, our music sounds very much like, I would say, like a scrapbook of the pop punk and emo tapestry. I
Okay.
think there's a lot of different, I think if you're a student of the emo history, like from the late 80s all the way up to now, I think there's a lot of little Easter eggs that you could pick out from what we do. Because I think we all kind of subtly leave, we all very unsubtly wear our influences on our sleeves, but we all are on completely opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to our influences in that same regard. Like, Dave is big fan of like the Starting Line, and like a lot more like, you know, the melodic, like very chorus and vocal driven stuff. Joey's a huge fan of like the Wonder Years and like that very 2011 through like 2016 era of pop punk. Me personally, I'm into a lot more of like the old school stuff. Like I'm into like Rites of Spring a lot lately, and a lot of like the old proto emo shit. Our other two guys, Jordan and Matt, are super into like, you know, a lot of the quintessential, like, Jordan's a huge Sum 41 fan. You know, all the classic stuff.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that all is really converging in interesting ass ways on this new music.
What I will add to that though is this next record, so far with what we've really put a heavy emphasis and focus on is bringing out the sad boy in us. This record's going to be far more emotional. We have kind of built this frame on, you know, our logo is the sad boy cloud. Our, you know, we're the sad boy era isn't over, and we're kind of trying to bring that resurgence back as well. That so I think this next record is going to be a lot more emotional, and it's going to bring out a lot heavier feelings than this record did. Not that this first record didn't give you the emotional side. I think this first record was far more focused on nostalgia, what was, and then this new record is going to be what is. And I think that's kind of the most exciting part.
Joey, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I think this new stuff is definitely, it's showing our evolution as musicians. I mean, I think we played it pretty safe on this first album. We knew, I mean, at least me and David were on the same page of like, we know what's going to sound good. We've done this before. We've been in this position. We've been in the studio. Like, we know how this is going to roll. This next batch of songs that we're coming up with are a little riskier. They're a little more, they're not necessarily formulaic. They're more towards the abstract end of what pop punk or what emo really is. We're mixing in sort of like 80s synth sounds, and we're mixing in like sort of math rocky, like Midwest emo sort of vibes into a lot of the stuff, and trying to bring all of that back into what our sound is. Because I think there's no, it's hard to define us in it's hard to put us in a box, and I like it that way. I prefer it that way. We had the, you know, pleasure of being on the BSB podcast, and those guys are great to us, and we're fantastic. But just like watching the chat while our song was playing, it was really cool to see one of the messages come through is be like, these guys don't sound like anybody in the scene. They sound like pop punk. They don't sound like anybody though. And that's like the biggest compliment you could pay us, as at least to me as a musician. It's like, I don't want to sound like everybody else. I want to sound like us. I want to sound like Never Sunny.
As nice as it sounds, if you do say that we sound like another band, Thank
for
you.
sure, for
But
sure. But at
yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah,
time,
for sure, for sure.
like as an artist, like
Yeah,
that's I don't want to be somebody else. I want to be us.
Yeah,
yeah,
makes
And
sense.
I think that's the biggest compliment. I think that's what this second album is really going to show is like, yeah, we're really not like everybody else. Like we are ourselves
Mhm.
authentically.
Like us. They not like us. They not like. I'm
Yes,
sorry, I
they're
had
not
to.
like us.
And yeah, to kind of piggyback off that, I think I noticed the same thing on BSB. I think it's very easy in forums like Blood, Sweat, and Beers to um try and find the quickest and easiest comparison you can make. Like, oh yeah, these guys remind me of like this meets this, which is
Mhm.
in no way an insult ever. It's usually a compliment. But it was, like Joey said, really cool to have people struggling to find the words to define what exactly we are. Like, it's like this, but like, no, it's not really like that. It's like, I can't really put my finger on it because, like, I think a lot of people find that's like, I think in past bands that I've been in, we've always tried to go for that kind of sound where you can't
Mhm.
really describe us, and that works to your detriment. But we're
Right.
not really trying to like what we tried to do was make a pop punk record, and it just turned out that we didn't make one that's easy to kind of follow the trails to our inspirations and influences, which
Mhm.
I think that's really going to play to our strengths in the future. I really really do. I'm excited to see what we can do with this next record. I don't know if we're planning on doing any more tracks than we did on this first one, but we at this point I think we have enough in the chamber that we could if we wanted to.
yeah, yeah. We got. I mean, and we're still writing more and more and more. I think that's going to be the big thing with us. That will separate us from a lot of other bands, not only in our area but just anywhere. We're never out of material. We're constantly
Mhm.
writing. Like Joey said earlier, we write in fury, so it's just kind of this first record was written in like 3 months.
Wow.
It was really quick. Um, so I'm stoked on that, saying that the second record is going to be great, but we're going to follow up real quick with a third. We're going to follow
Mhm.
really, we're the goal is to stay active. Um, we don't want you to forget about us.
Yeah. So before I ask the last question, was there anything else that you guys wanted to mention or talk about?
We got some new merch coming out for the fall, probably sometime around the when like fall officially begins. We'll be trying to start pushing out some new merch. Um, we're really excited about that. I think we're gonna have some really cool designs that I think people are really gonna like.
And to add to that, all of our merch that we put out is kind of one and done. If you don't cop it on the first run, there's always new merch, but you're not gonna get that one again. Um, and I think that's a really cool concept. Mickey is a genius when it comes to design and all that. And the new designs that he's come up with that we're dropping in fall are going to be killer. So on that note, make sure that you hop on our store when that drop happens, because we sold out of the first set pretty fast. And I'm thinking that this one will go even quicker. So, um, if you really dig the style and designs and stuff, make sure you're there. Also, I just want to kind of just redirect that, like, um, I want to say the best way to keep in contact with us and to follow us and everything we're doing. I just want to, we're the most active on our Instagram.
Okay.
And I think that Instagram is kind of taking over that kind of future lane of all that stuff. So, um, if you're not following us on Facebook, if you're not following us on, anything else, follow us on Instagram, because that's where we're the most active. That's where we're going to post the most stuff.
Mhm.
Um, and the more of you that click that follow button, the more help it gives to us to keep doing what we're doing.
And what is the Instagram handle?
At Never Sunny Band.
So, Joy, did you have anything to add?
No, I mean that pretty much covers it. Yeah, just support us however you can. Watch the videos, stream the album on Spotify, Apple Music, and let's just keep doing this. Hopefully we'll be back after we release the next album and do this again.
That'd be fun. So the last question is, what is the soundtrack of your life?
This has been such a fun interview. That's such a good question.
Yeah.
That's the one I end all of them on, and it's always interesting because everyone has such a unique answer. Well, first there's like a little panic, and then an answer.
Yeah.
So, okay, so when you say soundtrack of your, are you talking like a specific album?
It's however you want to answer it.
Ooh, ambiguous.
Yeah, I mean, if I broke it down
I know
into
mine.
a soundtrack, it would take a while. But if I think I have a record. What's yours, Joey?
Mine is The Upsides by the Wonder Years. I saw them for the first time when they were touring that album, when they had just released it. And I fell in love with that band. And that album got me through a really tough time in my early 20s, just like with no direction. I didn't know where I was going. And just hearing Dan or Soupy, just his words in that album really like touched me and really made me understand that it's like okay to be lost, and it's okay, and it's a natural human emotion. And it's like, if I didn't have that, I don't know where I would have ended up. So like that album really got me through a tough time, and it's part of the reason why we're called Never Sunny, because it had such a huge impact on me growing up. And yeah, that's Never Sunny, The Upsides. Go listen.
Mickey, you got yours?
I'm conflicted because there's two, and I'm like,
Put them together.
It could be both.
Put them together.
They're so diametrically opposed in every possible way. Definitely the first would be, to this day, the only album that I have like broken down in tears while listening to it, just from the sheer beauty of it. To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. I remember just closing my eyes and listening to that album all the way through, and like I remember just like bursting into like tears of joy at that final flourish of The Black of the Berry, and then just like listening to the rest of the album right out, and I was just like, man, I bet this is what heroin feels like, bro. This is amazing. And it was just like, it was also at a really tumultuous time for me in my own just figuring out my own identity as a Black male who is mixed race. Like it was a really, that album helped me in a lot of ways. And the other one I was gonna say is the Volume 3 soundtrack to Fooly Cooly by the Pillows. Because that show and that sound that they were able to conjure up for it, just like I don't know how better to describe it than it just kind of lives within my DNA at this point. Like, I don't know, it's such an, if you've never seen Fooly Cooly, the first Fooly Cooly, there's a couple of different versions of it now, but the first Fooly Cooly that came out in like 2001, it's a 6-episode anime. It's one of the greatest pieces of art ever created. It's just, it's I don't know, it really hit me deeply in a way that when I again felt misunderstood in my own identity just as a young man. And the music itself just kind of really has had a lasting impact on the way that I write. I think anybody that has written with me will probably tell you that they hear a bit of the Pillows influence in how I do stuff. So yeah, that's why I was like, I don't know how you would put those two fucking things together, but yeah, To Pimp a Butterfly.
That's why it's your soundtrack.
Yeah. What about you, Dave?
If I had to pick one, it would just be In Love and Death by The Used. I think that every track on that record hit me in some way growing up. Got me through a lot of sad emo heartbreak in middle school and high school, and also fed a lot of interest to me for how I write and stuff like that. Quinn and Brandon were just super essential to writing that music. If I could add, it would probably be Say Anything Is a Real Boy. That record also, just every freaking record on that album is spectacular. Max
really
Bemis Max Bemis wrote that record to be a musical, and no other band was doing that kind of stuff, and I just thought it was so cool.
Right. Those are some good soundtracks. So thank you
you
guys so much for taking the time to talk to me today.
Thank you so much for having
you.
us. This was a lot of fun.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I did too.